On June 24, 1947, Jimmy Doyle, a rising 22-year-old welterweight, climbed into the ring against Sugar Ray Robinson in Cleveland. The arena buzzed with excitement, unaware that the night would end in tragedy. Doyle had a history of concussions, unnoticed by officials, making him vulnerable. From the first bell, both fighters exchanged aggressive blows, testing each other's limits. By the seventh round, Doyle was visibly exhausted, his movements slower and unsteady. Robinson, the reigning champion, delivered a precise left hook just behind Doyle's right ear. Doyle collapsed immediately, his arms splayed across the canvas. The referee began counting, but Doyle made no effort to rise. Ringside doctors rushed in, noting fixed and dilated pupils, a sign of severe brain trauma. He was swiftly carried out on a stretcher, the crowd in stunned silence. At the hospital, surgeons discovered massive cerebral hemorrhage. Doyle's brain had compressed against the skull, shutting down vital functions one by one. He was placed on life support, but his body showed no sign of recovery. For 17 hours, he remained unresponsive, doctors unable to reverse the damage. At 11:55 p.m., Jimmy Doyle passed away, the prophetic nightmare of Robinson's pre-fight dream realized. The crowd, teammates, and officials were left shaken by the sudden death. This tragic outcome led to increased awareness of boxing-related brain injuries. Jimmy Doyle's death became one of the earliest cautionary tales in American boxing history. Incident 2. On March 21, 1963, featherweight champion Davey Moore faced Sugar Ramos at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Thousands watched, unaware that Moore's life was about to hang by a thread. Moore had fought many hard battles before, but this opponent's precision was unmatched. The rounds were fierce, punches exchanged at blistering speed. By the 10th round, Moore was visibly dazed, his head wobbling after repeated blows. Ramos delivered a straight right that snapped Moore's head backward violently. Moore hit the canvas hard, bouncing slightly before rising at the count of 8. The referee allowed the fight to continue, thinking Moore was fit. Minutes later, Moore collapsed in the corner, barely able to stand. Paramedics rushed to his side, quickly noticing a severe brain injury. He was taken to the hospital, where doctors diagnosed a subdural hematoma. Emergency surgery was performed, but the brain swelling was catastrophic. Moore remained unconscious for several days, his condition critical. Despite medical efforts, oxygen deprivation and swelling caused irreversible damage. On March 25, 1963, Davey Moore passed away, leaving a grieving family and shocked fans. His death became a rallying point for boxing safety reforms. Commentators and journalists called it one of the saddest nights in sports history. Davey Moore's legacy remains a warning about the hidden dangers of the sport. Incident 3. On September 17, 2005, Leander Johnson defended his IBF lightweight title against Jesus Chavez at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. For 11 grueling rounds, Johnson absorbed heavy punishment, especially to his head. Chavez unleashed a brutal combination of punches, each hit echoing like strikes on a fragile skull. In the final seconds of round 11, Johnson's guard dropped, and a flurry of headshots landed. The referee stepped in and stopped the fight. Johnson staggered out of the ring on his own. But the danger wasn't over. He collapsed in his dressing room shortly afterward. His corner froze in horror as he slumped to the floor, barely conscious. Paramedics rushed him to University Medical Center in Las Vegas. Doctors discovered a subdural hematoma, bleeding between his brain and skull. Emergency surgery was performed to relieve the pressure, but the damage was severe. Johnson was placed in a drug-induced coma as his brain continued to swell. Hope flickered when early signs of recovery appeared, but they soon faded. After several days, his condition did not improve, despite the medical team's efforts. On September 22, 2005, Johnson's family made the heartbreaking decision to remove life support. He was pronounced dead at 4:23 p.m., his dreams of boxing glory cut tragically short. Johnson's death shocked the boxing world and reignited the debate over ring safety. In response, the Nevada Athletic Commission introduced several important safety reforms. Evander Johnson's legacy remains a solemn reminder. In boxing, victory can come at the cost of life. Incident 4. On October 12, 2019, Patrick Day, a promising 27-year-old light middleweight, faced Charles Conwell in Chicago. The atmosphere was tense. Fans cheered without knowing the night's outcome would be tragic. Both fighters exchanged fast, powerful punches from the opening bell. Day appeared confident, moving around the ring with fluid footwork. By the 10th round, Conwell landed a heavy combination targeting Day's head. Day absorbed repeated blows, his guard lowering as exhaustion set in. In the 11th round, a straight right snapped Day's head backward violently. He collapsed to the canvas, trying to regain his footing but failing. The referee began counting, checking for consciousness. Paramedics quickly carried him to a nearby hospital, racing against time. Doctors diagnosed severe traumatic brain injury and swelling. He was placed in a medically induced coma to stabilize his condition. Despite intensive care, oxygen levels and blood pressure fluctuated dangerously. Family and teams stayed by his side, hoping for recovery. On October 16, 2019, Patrick Day passed away at 27, a promising life and career cut short. His death reignited conversations about brain trauma in boxing. Commissions and trainers vowed to improve safety checks in future bouts. Patrick Day is remembered as a talented fighter whose ambition tragically collided with the dangers of the ring. Incident 5. On September 9, 1930, heavyweight contender Frankie Campbell stepped into the ring against Max Baer in New York City. Campbell, a rising fighter, had a strong build but little experience with Baer's raw power. The early rounds were competitive, with each landing heavy punches. Campbell took repeated blows to the head, his face starting to swell visibly. By the 4th round, he showed signs of disorientation and slowed reflexes. Baer capitalized with a series of punishing hooks to the skull. Campbell collapsed to the canvas, attempting to rise but swaying dangerously. The referee allowed him to continue, thinking he could recover. Seconds later, Campbell fell again after a crushing uppercut. Paramedics immediately carried him out of the ring, crowd in stunned silence. At the hospital, Campbell was diagnosed with severe brain hemorrhaging. Doctors attempted emergency surgery, but the injuries were too extensive. For several hours, vital signs fluctuated dangerously. Despite every effort, his body could not recover from the trauma. Frankie Campbell died on the same day, leaving fans and family in shock. His death highlighted the extreme dangers of heavyweight boxing in the early 20th century. The bout remains a historical reminder of the sport's lethal risks. Frankie Campbell's legacy endures as a warning. Even rising stars are not immune to tragedy.